This is from my daughter, Christiana. Hey, Daddo, do you have $20 you can donate to the Kshama Sawant Solidarity Campaign? They're asking all the SA members to get 5 people to donate, so I'm hitting you up. Bezos is throwing millions of dollars at a recall campaign to try to get her out of office because she's trying to enforce the tax on Amazon and other big businesses. We don't expect to outspend Bezos, but we're trying to at least get the word out as much as possible. It's not just a fight for Kshama's campaign, but a pretty historic battle that would have an effect on workers all over the world. This article's kinda old, but it talks about the Tax Amazon initiative. Amazon taxed! Lessons of the Tax Amazon victory in Seattle. The Tax Amazon movement and Seattle's working class won a historic victory on Monday, July 6th. Following a 3-year struggle against the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, and his political establishment, we've won a tax on big business in the Seattle City Council that will raise an estimated $210 to $240 million a year, creating tens of thousands of green union jobs by building permanently affordable social housing. This victory was entirely due to the power of our movement and our threat to take the Amazon tax to the ballot if the City Council failed to act. This offensive win is a historic example of the power of class struggle, and it could not come at a better time. Cities and states across the country are pushing extreme austerity budgets in response to the pandemic-triggered budget shortfalls as we enter into another deep crisis of capitalism. We've seen the ruling class attempting to again offload the costs of their recession onto working people as they did during the Great Recession of 2008-2009, where big business got bailed out and workers got sold out. While trillions get pumped into Wall Street, we've only gotten a one-time check that doesn't even cover half of your average Seattle rent, and the extra money on unemployment benefits is set to run out at the end of the month, even though unemployment is at record highs. It doesn't have to be like this, and our victory in Seattle illuminates that. I am a union ironworker and member of Socialist Alternative, and I think that this pitched battle against Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and Seattle's billionaire class has rich lessons for working people across the country. This article is an attempt at highlighting the most important lessons of this victory so that workers across the country can put up similar fights. The Amazon tax win runs completely counter to what the ruling class wants. Instead of playing defense against austerity, we went on the offense to force big business to pay for a major expansion of affordable housing and public services. Now we need to spread the momentum from our victory across the country. Our rallying cry everywhere must be, say no to underfunded housing, education, social services, and austerity. Tax big business and the rich, not working people. Skipping ahead, big business's primary objective was to unseat Sawant, who had served for 6 years as an unapologetic representative of working people. Mainstream politicking advised dialing down the class struggle message to try and win over undecided voters by obscuring the divisions of inequality under capitalism rather than speaking to them. Fuck that shit. Oh, that must be Christiana. Good morning, Christiana, my daughter and fellow socialist. Welcome to Howell Underground. Christiana, I've already shared with you, has gotten me to donate $20 to Socialist Alternative, and I've already read part of the article on this same segment that you gave me. So what else would you like to add?
So I don't know what you've talked about already, but the point of the whole solidarity campaign is that Kshama is being recalled. Her whole campaign, her whole position as a city council member in Seattle is being recalled by, of course, Jeff Bezos and some of the billionaires that are have a lot to lose because of the Tax Amazon initiative.
Okay, so how do you feel about what's going on in Seattle, and do you think that it's a harbinger of what might happen in other cities?
Absolutely. So one of the best things Kshama did when she was elected in 2014 was to get the 15 Now initiative passed, which was the $15 minimum wage, which has already inspired other cities like Minneapolis, where I'm living at the moment, to also have a $15 minimum wage. And there are cities all over the country now that are adopting that. And right now, with this fight against Amazon and the billionaires, it's a huge message to Democrats everywhere and to, the people that are suppressing the working class. And most of the people that are behind this recall campaign are conservative union members and Democrats on the city council. And so the fact that she's getting grassroots organization and funding from small donors and regular people and working class people, and trying to send a message mostly to the Democrats on the city council, that, the funds that they're getting from Bezos and from these billionaires, this dark money that they're getting, is out in public, and they're making people aware of it. So hopefully that's something that wakes people up all over the country, that it's not just happening in Seattle, obviously, but that they can be kind of beacon of hope to show people that actually grassroots organizations can work and can even defeat people like Jeff Bezos.
I'm intrigued by the idea of the enemy not being only Jeff Bezos, but the comfy Democrats, comfy liberals, traditional liberals, the professional managerial class, the PMC liberals, who are Republicans. There are liberal Republicans because they believe that the market is God. They believe in the bullshit of Ronald Reagan and Maggie Thatcher back in the day. So I'm interested in scaring the PMC Dems and Republicans, and not just Jeff Bezos. I think we need guillotines, obviously, for the top heads to roll. But I think we need to scare the shit out of the comfy liberals too. And so, as you were saying, union people, there are a lot of shitty union leaders who take the dark money and do the nefarious work of people like Jeff Bezos. Do you, in your own circles, do you see this as something that we can address at the grassroots level? How do we scare the comfy liberals into doing the right thing and getting behind movements like Kshama's and like socialist alternatives?
Good question. That's what I've been beating my head against a wall trying to figure out. And I keep asking that in our weekly socialist alternative meetings. How do we wake people up and get them to see that the problem is the Democrats? It's the whole two-party system. But so, we had a little bit of news yesterday with the storming of the gates at the Capitol building. And I thought, my first thought was, holy shit, what the actual fuck is going on? And then my second thought was, wait, this might actually wake people up. This might actually get the comfy Dems to go, oh, they're actually fighting. Like, this is something that maybe we should go, oh, should we mobilize and actually get all of our leftist, coalitions together? Not that the comfy Dems would necessarily call themselves leftist, or that we would call them leftist.
No, we wouldn't call them leftists, no.
But I thought maybe there's hope that some kind of faction of people that care about Medicare for all and the working class could actually come together. And then, scrolling through Facebook for a couple hours, you see, no, they're going to post the memes and the clickbait and the things that are flashy and get people's attention. And they're going to post, the pictures of the Black Lives Matter protests versus, yesterday, everyone just coming in and taking what they want and taking selfies with the cops. Yeah. And that's good. We need to see that and know that obviously there's a huge disparity between how we treat protesters and how we treat thugs and rioters, which I would call the group yesterday that stormed the Capitol.
However, you started to make a different point, right? You started to say, what would it look like if the Trump supporters and the Black Lives Matter protesters and the Bernie supporters and the Occupy Wall Street people and the climate crisis people and everybody got together and said, hey, we're all getting screwed by the same system? Because it's so easy for us to point fingers at, them versus us and not point at the actual problem, which is the company. It's a class war. That's what we need to figure out. It needs to be a class war. And the more affluent, well-educated leftists, and there are actually a few, well-educated, affluent leftists, but they are so easily tempted to think of Trump supporters as a basket of deplorables instead of people who are getting fucked by the system, just like the Black Lives Matter movement is getting fucked by the system, just like all workers, especially the bottom half of the pecking order, are getting screwed. And if we all stopped blaming each other and started to work together. There are black militias too. There are white militias with guns. There are black militias, Black Lives Matter militias with guns. You know, there are lots of people that if they ever figured out they're on the same team or should be on the same team, things would change rapidly.
And that was my point, is that, you know, the division that I saw on Facebook yesterday is just completely the opposite direction of where we need to go. So when I thought for a second naively, oh, this is going to unite people and, you know, we're all going to realize that we can storm the gates and we've got power together. And I thought, nope, it's just going to push us further apart, you know, push the Democrats further apart and go, oh, they're the enemy. You know, the Trump supporters are the enemy. When they actually had the balls to do something, you know, not that it was anything effective or noble, but their, you know, their organization and their mobilization is way better than anything the left is doing. You know, we're so concerned about strategy and going about everything in the best way that we're just so factioned. And, you know, you have the DSA, which Jimmy Dore's been talking about a lot lately, and how they're criticizing this force the vote, but they don't actually have a plan. You know, they just want to criticize everyone else. And there are so many different groups now, which are socialists in name, and I think have, you know, the same core values, but I don't see any hope in uniting everyone behind a common goal at the moment, at least.
What do you think about this idea? The idea that if you're, say, DSA or other people that Jimmy is criticizing, if you want to be on the same team, Movement for a People's Party has leaders who told us to vote for Biden and others who told us not to vote for Biden. Say Chris Hedges versus Dr. Cornel West. What would you say for a movement going forward if they weren't sure about whether or not we should vote for people like Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? I mean, is it a movement if some of us are telling us to vote for corporatists? What kind of a movement is that?
Oh. Well, that's the thing. And, you know, we see that in all these Facebook groups with all the bickering. You know, people are still hung up on that. People are still justifying their Biden and Kamala votes and saying, you know, and the same people that are supporting the Squad and AOC, that's a whole other can of worms. But there's, you know, I think that was the defining factor of, you know, kind of the people that were not willing to make those, I think, personal, to admit to themselves that, you know, that they're not gonna support the movement fully because voting for Biden or supporting AOC, because they're still comfortable. I don't have a very eloquent way to put it, but I think
shit libs. That's what I do. Shit libs. That's the eloquent way I put it. They're shit libs, and that's why we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and it's, as someone who's very new to this whole movement and has had to shed my own comfortable leanings, it's, you know, when you believe something for years and years and years, and some of these people are, you know, older than I am, and they've had these beliefs and always thought that that was the right side to be on, or the left side.
Yeah. And it was neither.
Right. Yeah, left.
It's cognitive dissonance, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They come crashing into the fact that they've been wrong all these years. They don't want to take that red pill. They'd rather keep swallowing the blue pill.
It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you've been wrong, and then pivot and go, oh, okay, I have to completely rethink my ideology. And it takes time and it takes patience. And I think we're doing the right thing by chipping away at people and posting articles and doing podcasts and, you know, just getting the word out as much as possible. I'm a lot less popular on Facebook than I used to be. And I post these socialist ideas. And yesterday, my post about, you know, waking up and doing something, and I think I got 1 like. Whereas if I would have posted
A
you know,
puppy.
all the nice memes of the images from yesterday, I would have gotten, you know, lots of support and likes.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to go against the grain and to be uncomfortable and to admit that things are fucked up, because it's easy to be comfy. I mean, we know this.
Yeah, that's the real battle, I think. And so we keep chipping away, as you say, and we keep supporting the very few seemingly people like Kshama Sawant who will never tell us to vote for a corporatist. But that's to me the dividing line. And people want me to join a movement for a People's Party or some other movement, and they talk about the way you just were about a movement. I don't see it as a movement if we can't agree never to support corporate Republicans or Democrats. And that seems to be where we're limping along right now. And so let's keep chipping away, as you say, and keep trying to explain to people, whether we're popular or not. You can imagine I'm facing similar opposition from my shitlib friends who just don't seem able to ever get it. But that's the real battle. It isn't us versus Jeff Bezos until we figure out who we are, and we are the workers.
And that's one thing I appreciate about Socialist Alternative, is that we're not spending all this money and endorsing all these candidates. And sometimes even within our organization, we have debates about that and disagreements about that. Whereas DSA has quite a few candidates all over the country. But, you know, there are people like AOC who are socialist in name and then sell out and vote for Mama Bear Pelosi, and the whole squad votes for Mama Bear Pelosi. And, you know, we've got people like this all over the country that they say, oh, we've got all these DSA members and, you know, look how great we're doing. And Socialist Alternative doesn't support that. And we've been reluctant to embrace this kind of, I guess, partnership between these socialist organizations, although we have decided as now a national organization to attend DSA meetings as observers and to, you know, just kind of be aware of what they're doing, offer support, learn things from them, you know, teach them and just kind of have this relationship. But we have a whole different philosophy about endorsing candidates where, you know, we're going to put everything we have into Kshama. And if there's anyone else in, you know, the next couple years that we actually feel we can endorse, because they're never going to give corporatists, you know, that satisfaction. So right now we're centering all of our efforts on that Kshama Solidarity campaign, who, by the way, I was just reading this morning about the income that the Seattle council members get, which is $127,000 a year, and she gets paid $40,000 a year and donates the rest. And you can see line by line exactly what she donates to, which are socialist organizations, Black Lives Matter organizations. You know, you can see the whole list, but somebody who actually puts their money where their mouth is, which you're right, we have very few of.
Yeah, with such a small group of leaders in front of us, it seems as though we just need to take matters into our own hands. But my niche in this battle is to figure out how to scare the shitlibs. I feel like we can't get anywhere unless we can get the comfy people. You know, if they don't get out of the way, we at least need to put a target on them so that everyone can see that they are the enemy, even if they never come around, even if they never come against this cognitive dissonance, as you're saying, and figure it out. We need everyone to know that they're not on our team. Yeah. And they're not going to like us for it, but that's my part of the battle. And you have a great part there with Socialist Alternative, and I think that might be a good place for me to continue to put money if I have a few extra nickels and dimes rolling around, and maybe they will end up being the spiritual leaders of the movement that we've been talking about.
But we need numbers too, and that's the hard thing.
Well, yeah, so look at what you need to do to get numbers.
That's not our main goal, you know, and that was something when I came into the organization, guns blazing, and went, all right, how are we going to rally people and, you know, boost our numbers and do all this, and you know, that's obviously important, but they were like, well, that's not really our primary focus. their focus is educating people. And, we do a lot of reading and study, and we have Marxist study groups and, look at revolutionary history. And sometimes I kind of go, okay, but let's do something. And, we're building a movement slowly, but they want to keep at the core the values that are important and not compromise no matter what. And I also just wanted to say, I think a lot of people are still kind of thinking that this coalition that we're building, whatever it looks like, we have to get the liberals and we have to get the comfy Dems. But the more I read and the more I see and think about it, I think you might be right that we have a better chance of getting Trump supporters and getting, people who have been oppressed, as opposed to people sipping wine at brunch.
That's a good note. That's a good note to end it on. I really think that is what we aren't hearing very many places. So if Socialist Alternative ever comes to that conclusion, I'd be interested to probably be part of those meetings you're describing. I don't know what they would do with me, but I'd be willing if they would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'll let you get back to brunch and
coffee.
Oh, good. I've got some coffee and some eggs here. So talk to you later, Gator.
Later, Gator.
Christiana messaged me after we made the video, and she wanted me to plug this event. Defend Kshama Sawant, rally to reject the recall. This is a Facebook event. As always, I will link to it underneath the video and underneath the podcast.